Hi, Chief.
Good morning, good afternoon, Zimbabweans, good evening, depending on where you are. Thank you so much for joining us. You are on your favorite program, Padare na Mambo Svosve. You are live on Change Radio, Facebook, Change Radio, YouTube. And we also want to welcome our listeners on Change Radio. And we are also live on Mkoma Yudas page. Thank you so much, all of you, for joining us from across the world. We are discussing here a very important issue. Emmerson Mnangagwa's ever blundering policies. And to help me discuss all that, I have Comrade or Miss Chenai. Zimbabwe Yahweh, I always call you Zimbabweyadzoka, and she corrected me today, Zimbabwe Yahweh. Chenai, thank you so much for joining us. Please go ahead and greet our viewers and listeners.
Hello, thank you, Chief. It's good to be here again. It's been a while. Greetings to all your viewers around the world.
Yes, it has been a while. You shouldn't stay away too long like that, Chenai. And from Harare, we are joined by Ashley, our young man, the director of Zinasu. He'll be helping us discuss this issue from a student's perspective, a youth perspective. Ashley, I know there's no electricity in Zimbabwe. That's why you can't come out live here. That it just summarizes the situation in Zimbabwe. Ashley, please take a few minutes to greet our viewers and listeners.
Hello, viewers. Greetings to you, fellow citizens of the country and the global at large. It's good to be here, the Change Radio, and we'll be speaking about change as always. So thank you to all our listeners and viewers.
Yes, thank you, Ashley. We apologize. We started a little bit later, but those who are just joining us, please let's share this video so that as many people as possible can come and join us and be here with us. We also want to hear what you think, what you, our viewers, think. Use the comment section. The comment section is actually the most exciting on social media. So please feel free to put out your comments and comment on what we are discussing here. We also want to know where you are tuning in from. Let's get right into it. Chenai, I know you were in Zimbabwe, recently. Maybe you can just begin by telling us, how you felt. You were there when this senseless law was, or order to say, was enacted. How did you feel about it, and how did you feel, your fellow bankers or fellow economists, fellow financial people feel about the order?
I think a word that really comes to mind is the shock. I think we were all shocked. It was just shocking. It was abysmal. It was astonishing. It was just something that, you always think when things get bad, they can't get any worse. And this government has proven to us that it's possible. Things you can go from bad to worse to even worse, So it's something that is unprecedented the world over, that you can have such an announcement that says no one can lend. The banks cannot lend, microfinance institutions cannot lend, because that is the whole essence of banking. Banks are not deposit houses. Otherwise, you put your money in the bank so that your money earns interest. And the way that the bank is able to give you that interest is because it takes part in deposit schemes whereby it's lending to its customers and is also gaining interest back, so that you've got interest received and interest paid out. That is how banks manage their risk. So if you are now saying that you've basically closed the economy, shut it down, that is a shutdown of the economy by saying that no one can lend. It's something that is not when I remember it took me back to the time when we used to have hyperinflation in the world. And because of that hyperinflation, we were in all the economic scholars were so concerned about us that we can have inflation that's 1,000%. People were the world over, and now this is one of those. I would put it in the same bracket to say, if you can get inflation that is so high, and then you can also get a ridiculous, it's put Zimbabwe on the map again for the wrong reasons.
Naona kamzukuru kanga vakajoina program panapa. This is good. I like that. I like that.
Angariko kuZimbabwe achinzwa ma-announcements ada kukomenta.
Ada kucontributawo.
Ada kutotaurawo kuti zvakatomushamiso.
Right. Tonight, before I go to Ashley, you are an economist, but today I want you to practice street economics. I want you to walk us through, like laymen that we are, so that we understand, the impact of all this. Because some of us, we don't even understand, even with our O-level economics, we can't even put it together what exactly Emerson Mnangagwa is trying to do. Can you explain in simple terms what this means to our economy and international investors? Is Zimbabwe really open for business, if ever it was?
Okay, so the issues that we have, Chief, which are very so there are many ranging issues. The first one, you start to wonder why is this panic and pandemonium? What is happening? What is making the government do something so ridiculous? I mean, we they are famous for ridiculous policy, but why to this extent? The suddenness of the announcement, the fact that there was no pre-warning, and then you also have the reversal of the announcement. It shows that something has happened that they were not prepared for. And so that what happens with that level of speculation, Chief, is a few things in the mind of the investor. The investor is looking to say, okay, if I put my money in this economy, is my money secure? Will I be able to get a return from my investment? What are the risks that I face? Now, the relationship between risks and return, where I feel that the risk is too high, I am going to compensate for that in price so that I stay in that economy. So, what you're seeing now, the manifestation for that in Zimbabwe is the sudden increase in price because there's no other reason. So, what happens is, as a shop, as a shop owner, Chief, if you were selling
Yes.
Mazoe in your shop, right?
Right.
You have probably bought your stocks that you're selling today 3 months ago. So, in essence, an announcement that is made today should not really impact the price of your stocks because you bought them before the announcement was made. But what you are now trying to do is to minimize the impact of any shock changes in the future. So, what you have to think about is how can I protect my investment? And the best and quickest way to do that is you put the price up, right? Because that's what you're saying is something is happening. The policymakers from both the monetary and fiscal perspective are looking to reduce the amount of money supply in the economy. Therefore, I need to get in as much as I can now. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
something is going to happen. I don't know what it is yet. The other thing that happens is investors, again, they speculate a bad news. It's a shock announcement. So you speculate that things are going wrong. So you start to withdraw from the market. So we know that in Zimbabwe already we were facing I like to call them the paraplegic impacts of the fact that okay, we've got the whole situation with Ukraine, which is external, but also we have our own monetary market infrastructure that is very porous. We've got a runaway inflation. We've got a runaway parallel exchange market, etc., etc. So when we know that we are kind of on a downward spiral, but because we are starting now to speculate to say something, this is bad news, something is happening, we start to exit the market, and that downward spiral curve it is steeper and quicker. So this is what we call in economics a self-fulfilling prophecy, is we are anticipating that things are going to go wrong. But the way we are going to react is also going to make things go wrong, if you see what I mean. So
Yes.
this is what happens. And so what this has done is it has actually put us on a very steep curve downward, So where maybe we were saying that things might be really bad in 6 months' time, we've reduced that to 3 months' time. Where we were saying perhaps there's enough money in circulation in the country, we might just be able to get by. Like, forget about that, right? And so what's going to happen now is people will already, our bank deposits were very low. People already in Zimbabwe, the relationship that we have with the banking system is one of mistrust. You only keep the money in the bank that gets paid in the bank. And as soon as your money gets paid in the bank, you want to take it out. I was in Harare, there are queues everywhere of people trying to withdraw their money out of the bank. So we know that our banking system at the moment, we have a huge number of adult population that are unbanked. We also have a lot of unbanked transactions that are happening outside of the banking system. So all these things have actually now been made worse, right? And how do we see what is going to happen next? What will happen next is that the money in circulation will become less. The demand for external currency will increase. And so we're going to see the rate exponentially increase, the exchange rate between the weaker currency and the stronger currency. That's going to exponentially increase. We're going to see inflation of basic commodities in shops. When they made the announcement, I said to my closest relatives, go and buy cooking oil, take your money out of the bank. But I know that whilst obviously this for me was a speculation, we have now seen the shortage of cooking oil in the shops. We are seeing all these things. So where we are most vulnerable is where it hits the most, right? Because we are an import economy. I've heard other ministers in the ZANU-PF government say we're not an import economy. We have 66% local goods. We do have local goods in the shops, but for the majority of those goods, I'd say maybe 93% of those goods, they are actually using imported raw materials. So we have a high demand for external currency as we are. So what this has done is really introduced like a huge shock into our economy. And unfortunately, is going to the people that are going to be hit the most are the civil servants as usual, because they get paid in local currency, where the demand is definitely moving towards the external currency. So they are obviously the most disenfranchised by such policy changes.
Wow, wow. Thank you very much, and I think I have broken it down for us. We are getting the gist of it, although there were too many big words. Exponential. Just like today, BT, you're using those big words again. But anyway, you managed to explain it to us. I think we're getting to understand what's going on. Let's cross over to Harare and bring in Ashley. Ashley, I know you're not an economist like Chenai, but whether an economist or an accountant, whatever is happening in Zimbabwe, it affects you one way or another. Can you just tell us from a youth perspective, a student perspective, how the announcement of the banning of bank lending affected you? How did you receive it? How was it received by the youth?
Thank you very much, and many thanks to the great lecture that we just received from our lecturer, Chenai. There, I think she really did the deep thinking process for us. Yes, I must say that really we have learned a lot. But from as you have said, Chief, that this is street economics. It's a key economy where people are trying to fix things with wires, but things that need really ideas in terms of the economy of how to push it forward. So as you saw, that it was a panic decision, it was a panic policy that didn't have any, procedures in terms of implementation, that was not guided by even in terms of, how announcements are made. So for us, that really showed that, it cemented the whole idea that this country is a crisis of leadership. This country is a crisis of ideas. Those that are leading at the top echelons of power really don't have the idea of what is supposed to be happening. Those that are holding offices are incapable of really leading the people of this country. So as you have heard Chenai, they're explaining it, deeply, showing that we have massive people that know what is supposed to happen, but those that have power don't know what is supposed to be happening in those, state institutions. But from a youth perspective, I think this announcement to us really showed it was a testimony that our government is truly incapacitated. But if you look at it as an economic perspective, I think it was hard hitting because we actually knew the consequences of what was going to happen. We knew that prices are going to rise. We knew that cost of living is going to rise very high. And so the youth, especially now that that they're unemployed, that we're a generation that has never been given a fair chance. We're a generation that has never seen a pay slip in our lifetime. So that on its own, shows that as young people, we are totally excluded from the governance of this country. We're totally excluded from the national cake, because when we cannot access loans from the bank, then how do you expect us to start our businesses? If we can't receive loans from the bank, how do you expect us to pay the loans for our fees? How do you expect us to get money to pay for our fees? But some of us have been trying to get loans from our parents, have been getting loans from banks to pay for our fees. Our parents have been assisting us in terms of even starting small businesses. So this was really, really hitting hard on the ordinary citizen, on the ordinary young person in Zimbabwe who's trying to become an entrepreneur in this country. So it was really a moment of reflection to say, is this government standing for the people or against the people? Is this government devouring its people or trying to build its people? And for us, I think it was a moment of, a Paul at Damascus moment where our eyes were opened to see the light which says we need change in our country, change that starts from the top. The fish rose from the head. When the head is rotten, the whole country becomes rotten. So we have seen that the head is rotten. So we have seen the light that we need change. We need a new leadership that speaks on policies that really touch on our livelihood, on policies that are important to change the course of our lives. So I think for us as young people, we saw what we have been seeing every day. We confirmed what we have been thinking every day, that this government is not for us. This government, is self-centered because they themselves have looted enough from the banks. They themselves are actually owning the banks. So it was a moment of just securing their resources and keeping them to themselves, while the people are totally excluded from the national cake. So it was a moment of just confirming that this government doesn't stand with its people.
Wow, wow. Yeah, so from what Chenai has said and from what Ashley is saying, folks, we can see that Zimbabwe is a country in crisis. We have a crisis in our education system. We have a crisis in our health system. And we are seeing here that we have even a bigger crisis with our economy. And having said that, we have just been joined here by Change Champion Barbara. Barbara herself is a veteran trade unionist. Let's hear Amaiwa Ashley. Yeah, she calls herself Amaiwa Ashley. So now today here we have a mother-son affair here. Maiwa Ashley, from a labor perspective, what does this senseless declaration by Emerson Mnangagwa that banks are no longer allowed to lend, and yet we know that banks, survive on lending? I know the law or whatever the order was, later reversed, but I don't know if it was completely reversed. Chenai will tell us about that. But how do you think the worker is being affected by this? You're on mute.
Thank you so much, Chief Svosve. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Zimbabwe, from wherever you are. Thank you for having me here today as a veteran trade unionist. Yeah, you see the issue here, Chief, is policy inconsistency. Today they craft a policy, tomorrow they reverse. It's like they're testing the people, Chief. It only is done by the government that does not know what they are doing, because they are not sure. They know they've failed, but they can't admit that they've failed. And like I've always said, Kuti, the policies must be formulated by the people. There should be consultations, but we see the ZANU-PF government doing its own things without consulting people. That's why every time when they issue a policy or when they issue a position, it's always met with resistance by the people, because they would have not consulted the people. So this issue of loans, I don't even know, Chief, kuti vaifunga kuti chii, kuti ndo zvingapedza black market here, and yet they are the ones that are creating the same black market, not the poor people. So what then it means is, like Ashley, my son, was saying, kuti, most people were surviving on loans. I can attest to that. I can concur with Ashley, Chief, because I was a worker, and every time you'll be having a loan account running. You know, you finish paying this loan, you take another loan. Before you even finish another one, you'll be given. Banks were now giving multiple loans to an individual. I'm one example, one parent who paid my children's fees with bank loans, because my salary was not enough for me to pay university fees, just like what Ashley was alluding to. So, you know, to say we are banning those loans, it simply meant that the people were going to suffer more. The people were going to, it's like the Chimbadzo thing was going to erupt. People were now going to be charged exorbitant maybe charges by the same people, and these same people, chief, because they are the ones that can access money. You know, the people, the general populace, they don't have access to money because Mariao is always is either ECONOMIST. No one has ever had that opportunity of having withdrawing their salaries on the ATM. Is always it's either you transfer from the bank to your EcoCash, or you buy it straight with your card in a supermarket. The Zimbabweans have never, especially the workers, have never been granted that opportunity of using their money as they want. You know, it's always determined to them, Kuti, here is your 10 million, but you are going to use it this way. They've got no choice, chief. So already when this was introduced, this policy, you know, we saw the prices of commodities skyrocketing. I've always said you know, Zimbabweans, what keeps them going is they joke about things that are not even jokulous. You know, they joke about their lives. I saw 1 kg of meat being tagged as someone's salary. They're saying a teacher's salary is now equivalent to 1 kg of meat. I saw the maize seed. I saw the fertilizers. You know, the prices were just exorbitant. They were double the price of last year. And we are going towards the rainy season. You know, people have started maybe buying their farming inputs. And then what do? They raise the prices of the commodities. Cooking oil, you know, chief. I want to send you a small skit where someone was bragging about buying cooking oil. She had 2 by 2 liters of cooking oil, and she was showing everyone, oh, mafuta. You know, it's like, you know, I said, you know, my God, you know, people have been reduced to destitute, you know. People, cooking oil is now something, is like gold. You know, cooking oil. You can't afford to buy, the Zimbabweans can't afford to buy cooking oil. They're saying when you're buying with EcoCash, it's now equivalent to $7 cooking oil. And how many people can afford that? Bread alone. How many people are still buying bread? You know, it's so pathetic. This Mnangagwa regime, they must just admit that they've failed. You know, they are trying by all means to resuscitate an economy that is already sinking. You know, the ship is sinking, and they think they can try to resuscitate it. They can't. We just need to change this government, chief, and bring new ideas, new leadership. You know, if we are going to have people like Wana Ashley, do you think they can fail? They can fail to run this country?
We'll go to the solutions. But Champion Barbara has just pushed us into our next question here. It was on price increases. But before we bring in Chenayi to, just break it down for us, let's take just a quick short break here and just talk about and listen to something about voter education from Change Radio. I don't know if our backroom staff is ready with that, so that we learn from all angles here. We're talking about the economy. We also encourage each other to go and register to vote.
Register to vote, and they do not vote. Titi vano sopota, kutuka vamwe vasina kuvota. Register kuvota, hande kunovota. Hatidi vanozopopota, kutuka vamwe vasina kuvota. For presidency, nechitupa changu ndeta check ndapinda tonazi. Monazi, ndoda kunyorejesa masalazi. Mageto yuzi yakametesa, vemushikashika pamusika varikutengesa. Kuti kugokwanisa kuvota paunoda, manya kusekiwo rejesa kuvota. Rejesa kuvota, hande kunovota. Hatidi vanozopopota, kutuka vamwe vasina kuvota. Register kuvota.
Register to vote and stand with other citizens in voting to be the change our country needs.
Well, are you a registered voter? If you are not, please go and register to vote now. And if you are in the diaspora, you can't register to vote. We understand that. We continue to fight for the diaspora vote. But please make sure you enable your folks in Zimbabwe to go and register to vote. Let's do that. I don't know if Chennai is still there, so that...
Yes, Chief, I'm here.
There's someone who is talking. Can you mute? Okay, there we go. Right. So, Chennai, let's talk about the price increases here. Whether Emerson Mnangagwa withdrew his order, or not, we don't know and we don't care, because immediately after that, we saw a rampant price, increase, of ranges of 30% to 50%, which means, whatever he did in the last few days could also have triggered that. Can you just comment on the price increases, and do you think there's any light at the end of the tunnel? It's just unaffordable. Like Barbara was saying, people can't afford these continuing price increases.
Okay, so just a couple of things. I'll explain to you using what we call the value chain.
Right.
And I will look at something simple like chickens, right? We all know you can buy chicken from Irvin's in the supermarkets, for example, or from another supplier in the supermarket. So the value chain of that, it starts with somebody who can supply the chicks, the baby chickens, right? They bring those baby chickens to someone who is then responsible for rearing them until they can then be sold off for the last part of the production line so that they can be sold. So what happens is the first person supply their chicken, the second person has to pay the first person before they are paid by the final person in the value chain. This middle person has to go and borrow because they don't yet have the money to pay number one until number three has paid them, and they don't get paid until they have raised the chicks into chickens, right?
Yes.
So if one person in that chain cannot afford to pay or becomes nervous and thinks, right, if the government can suddenly just say to me, I can't borrow, this is my livelihood, I've already invested a lot, I'm either going to increase my price for my next batch to the person down the line, or I reduce what I'm taking, because then I'm thinking I have to trade cautiously, because if suddenly the music stops playing and I owe this person this many dollars, I have to make sure that I can afford to be in business, basically. Both things, this is how investors manage risk, right? So either I reduce my demand over here so that it's affordable by me, in case this crazy government that can just wake up and change policies tomorrow does a similar thing, I want to be sure that my family will not suffer. Or I increase my price so that however much I get paid, I can at least make sure that I've got enough to pay for the next batch, right? Both those things will result in price increases. So this is what we're saying, that it disrupts the value chain. it disrupts the modus operandi. So people will no longer be able to just continue as they were doing. They now have to operate cautiously. And the moment you introduce more risk into the economy, your price will go up. That's how that reflects. And also, the moment people start to exit, your price will go up. The moment you think other people will exit, the prices will go up. So we are now on this, in the inflation train has already started moving. By the time they think, oh, actually, maybe we can't do that because of everybody saying, well, we can't pay salaries. Businesses need to manage their working capital. The same thing that Barbara was saying, I need to be able to pay my staff before I get paid. And the only way I do that is by borrowing. Even if I'm just borrowing for 3 months, that's what I do. So this is how we end up with a case of increasing prices. And once that chain reaction starts, it doesn't, you can't just stop it by saying, oh, tomorrow, oh, sorry, guys, because already people are speculating. It's a behavior, it's about behavioral dynamics. People are speculating. There's already a perception. The risk profile of your economy is gone south. You're also looking at things like it already. Our risk profile is really, really bad. Our banks even struggle. If I am here in the United Kingdom and I want to do a straightforward transfer into a Zimbabwean bank, I can't, because and people will talk about sanctions, etc. But what is really key to all this is our risk profile as a country. People cannot trust the policymakers. When people come in to invest, even us Zimbabweans, you'll be thinking, okay, I can see this can make me money, but because what, I don't know what is going on, what is going to happen next, what are the policymakers going to do? So then we come into the question of why did they do this, what happened? And so I've been trying to assess, to see what happened in our economic environment. And one of the things that really, really shocked me was the Trafigura debt. And I'm not sure if you already covered this on the show.
Mhm.
So we buy the majority of our fuel from a company called Trafigura. It's in Singapore. And we've been buying on credit for years and years and years. And I think our debt at the moment stands at 10 billion US dollars.
Oh my
And
God.
in the last few weeks, Trafigura, I mean, there's a lot of other nuances with that in the way that Trafigura are lending to even other Southern African companies. It's a big deal, right? So what we now have to think about is we owe 10 billion. Trafigura suddenly said, we want our money, or we can't supply you. And we again have had a reactionary response from our fiscals saying, well, we'll use our exports. You can now take over the revenues from Kovimba Housing to pay for this debt. So when you're now using your incoming exports from mining, which is our main export balance comes from our minerals through Kovimba Housing, right? If we are now using those revenues to pay this debt, it means we have created, and they have not been transparent as to exactly how much we are giving them, when we are giving them, how it's going to work. But I can only assume that because this is not stipulated in the budget statement, it creates a hole in the budget. That money now that we said we were going to get as revenue from exports is now going to pay off this debt. What does that mean? It means we're going to have less money available, especially through the beast they created, which is the interchange auction. So they've then said, well, let's, for a period of time, say nobody borrows, because if nobody borrows, nobody comes to the interchange. The demand through the interchange auction is less. So to kind of give themselves some headroom and some breathing space. But all this, what this is fudging the economy. We've already, any economist, even in the wildest sense, even if you were to stop somebody, an A-level economic student today, they will tell you to disbandon the interchange auction. We have been saying that. But clearly, there is somebody or some people that are benefiting from this beast. And we continue to subsidize them and to protect them by all these nonsense policies is to protect it, is to keep it going, right? Instead of them saying, let's just use, if you want to change money, go to your bank. Let's use let the market dictate. And then we are not in this false economy business of subsidizing the corporate elite through the interchange auction. So these are the problems that we have in Zimbabwe. And these policies that we are seeing are trying to almost put a plaster on a broken leg. Like literally the limbs are apart and they're saying, let's stitch it together using sellotape. And it's not going to work. We need to nip this in the bud with the head, with the big stuff, the stuff that is drowning and killing our economy, like the interchange auction. The fact that at the moment, nobody trusts nobody trusts the governor of Zimbabwe. No investor in his right mind actually trusts him. Nobody trusts the Minister of Finance because they are constantly, any minute, announcement. That announcement, there's no provision for it in the budget statement. People don't like that. You can't work with the economy where you don't know what is going to happen next. We don't know, are they looking at bringing back the Zim dollar? Because this is something that we have had mutterings of. Are they looking to dollarize? Why are we having a pegged regime through the interchange auction? When is the next SIE instrument going to come out? You know, nobody does that. You don't see, I mean, you live in America. I live here in the UK. Like, it's not normal to just say every 1 month, every 2 months, you might get and just a huge life-changing instrument that has not been consulted. Businesses don't know anything about it. It's not in the budget review statement. It's no way. It's just an announcement that happens sporadically. That alone is killing the economy. No sane investors of integrity will invest in an economy like that.
Wow. Yeah, thank you, Chenai, for that. So yeah, we come here to discuss and then also provide solutions. But before we go to the solution sector, we just want to give a chance here to our young man, Ashley, to talk about the effect of price increases to the students and to the youth, to the people on the ground. But before he comes in, let me break some news here. I have some breaking news. We all know that there is a Davos conference in Switzerland right now going on. The news that we are just getting is that Emmerson Mnangagwa will be flying to Davos, Switzerland tomorrow. And the news that I have also just received is that 55 people are already in Davos. They are already in Switzerland, and others are going to follow with him in the hired private jet that is costing taxpayers and Zimbabweans over $1 million. And again, I also review that the 55 people that are already in Davos as we are speaking will be getting per diem of upward of $10,000, from of the time that they will be there in Switzerland. And that's your money, Zimbabweans. That's your money, taxpayers. Put all that money together, the almost $1 million that is being used to hire a private jet. It can resuscitate Mpilo Hospital or Harare Hospital on its own, but it's being, thrown away to a useless conference that has been attended years and years, but we have never seen any benefit of that. So Mnangagwa will be flying tomorrow to Davos, but 55 people are already there in Switzerland, in Davos, as we are speaking right now, in top of the range, top of the class hotels at your expense, at the expense of the poor Zimbabwean taxpayer. Ashley, how angry does this make you, that are compounded with the price increases?
Yes, thank you very much. I must depart and say that, one thing that is clear in terms of the whole structure that is being done by Emmerson is that it's forcing students to wake up every day in the blessing of an empty stomach. and a jobless existence, because students are starving, students are isolated in an ocean of poverty. And it's very painful that you cannot even afford to purchase cooking oil. We're forced to go back to 2008, where people would eat my veg without cooking oil, where people would just boil beans and that is what they will eat. We are forced to go back to situations where people have one meal a day because they cannot afford proper meals, and that on its own affects the quality of education and the quality of students produced by the education system. So everything that Emerson is doing is to undermine education system and to undermine the intellect of young people and the nation at large. So I must say that, as you know, that we called for a national shutdown where we had to shut down all tertiary institutions. And I must reflect and go back to 2019, where a similar incident happened when, prices started to skyrocket. CCTU called for a national shutdown. And this is what, if you go back to 2019, you will remember that there was a loss of lives, violent attacks, there was sort of civil unrest within the country. And these are fueled by such actions from the government. These are fueled by such misguided decisions that are made at night, and as you may know, that also this decision on its own was forced by an action that citizens took before the 9th of May, where Emerson tried by all means to silence or to go ahead, in terms of really shutting down the country. We called for a shutdown, but what is happening is Emerson Mnangagwa is actually assisting in shutting down the country. The banks are not working, industries are closing, different sectors in the country are not operating because the country is on shutdown. So for fellow Zimbabweans, the country is already on shutdown. What we need is to further this struggle and move forward, because the country is already on shutdown and nothing is working. Bank systems are down. The farming, I saw recently, the farmers were starting to shut down a lot of deliveries because they couldn't get loans in terms of their farming sector. So all that is affecting our parents, and if anything that affects our parents affects the students. So the students are at the center of this crisis. They are the major victims of Emerson Mnangagwa's misgovernance. So this continues to frustrate and infuriate students. And I must say that there are games that are happening. It's time for the SUSA games, and the sentiments around each and every student were that we need to do something. Right now at UZ, people were calling, saying, no, we need to intensify the struggle. We need to cement the struggle so that, we put more pressure. The country, is on autopilot, as I always say. There is no leadership. So the students are angry. And I tell you, the action that is coming will be massive, because we have declared that this is a season of action. So already Emerson Mnangagwa is giving us more reasons to be frustrated, more reasons to take steps towards, fighting for our country, because as Joshua Nkabo was saying, that the country won't die, young people will save it. So it's our generational mandate to take our steps, to take the direction as to how are we going to fulfill our generational mandate in terms of saving our own country. As Frantz Fanon puts it, that each generation must, out of relative obscurity, discover its mission and choose whether to fulfill or to betray it. Ours is a task to transform our country. Ours is a task to make sure we liberate ourselves from and gain total independence, total economic independence, total political independence. So what we are seeing is a deepened crisis, because it's cross-cutting from all facets of society, be it political, social, economic. Right now, I tell you, my youth on their own are frustrated because their girlfriends are being taken by these people from government with Range Rover. So you see, it's cross-cutting, and yet you can't even afford to buy a Mary biscuit. So that on its own, it's a call for action, not only to defend not only to defend the economy, but even to defend our own welfare and our happiness, because our happiness is under threat. Everyone is under threat. The progress of the country is under threat. The future generation is under threat. So we have to really show our youthfulness and show our futuristicness in terms of defending our country and defending our dignity as young people and defending our intellect, because the world is laughing. We are living in a global village. We can't be a laughing stock in a global context where we know that our government, is putting policies that are not favorable to the people. Whilst when we go out there, we showcase our level of intellectuality. We speak power, we speak truth, we speak progress. But what is happening in our country is completely the opposite of what we know. I tell you, Zimbabweans are shining all over the world. They are occupying different spaces and they're excelling in those spaces. But go back to our home, you realize that we are being led by vagabonds that don't have an idea of how to steer this country forward. So that on its own, I think it's a call for action to say, let's put our intellect, let's put our energy, let's put our voices and channel them towards the change that we need in this country. So this issue of prices is really affecting young people. It's affecting everyone. So I think it's a moment where we need to take action and step up our fight in terms of reclaiming our country to ourselves, reclaiming our resources, and making sure that we control, as you heard what Chennai was saying around, a free market where the market takes things. You can't be led in a command economy, command politics, command everything. That's where this is coming from, and this is where it's going. So it's a matter of saying, as I said, that this is cross-cutting. Our democracy is under threat, even in terms of how economic policies are made. So I think for me, it's a political issue that is emanating in different facets, be it the economy, be it the social. What we have in Zimbabwe is a political crisis where there is no social contract between the governed and the governor, where the social contract is broken. So we need action. We need action. There is nothing that I can say much, but what I can say to the young people of our country is we need action. We need to make sure that our country gets back on its feet. And to do so, we have to make sure that we provide leadership and fight for our country.
Wow. Very powerful. Thank you very much, Ashley, for that. Before I go to Chennai to round up, I know she wants to go. I told you that it's going to be 1 hour only. Stella, if you can just go to our viewers and listeners, read the comments so that we connect, we hear what they are saying, and you can also say a few words before we cross over to the UK.
Thank you, Chief. Some of the outstanding comments that maybe we could address. Chikomba Chevari Mudumbu says, Vanhu vataura zvakwana, now takuda action. I think that's a valid point we've been discussing for years, actually. But I think now, as we go towards the 2023 elections, action is needed. Henry Musikavanu says they never admit to failure. Instead, Masabuku nemadzishe ndiwo vane priority iri kuiswa pamusoro kupiwa mota dzekufambisa kunoona magirlfriends avo. Feel free to comment on these comments if
there was a comment by someone which was talking about the power of boycott.
Yes.
Do Zimbabweans really understand the power of boycott? I thought that was a very useful and powerful comment. I think it happened when we just started the program.
Yes, I think that is the one. Andrew Flores says, how do you get Zimbabweans to understand the power of boycotting?
Yes. Well, that's what people are saying there. It's in line with what Chennai, Ashley, Barbara have been saying here. Chennai, I know you want to go. You can just give us your recommendations, because we also want to be a solution center. We discuss problems and then we also come up with alternatives or solutions. What do you think we should do? What's the way forward?
Okay, so the way forward, um, Chief, is, you see, once you lose trust, there's a statement that says you lose trust in seconds and you cannot regain it overnight. It takes a long, long time. And at the moment, there is a trust deficit with our policymakers and the key economic players, right? So we can sit here and say, well, maybe they need to do this, but the moment investors stop trusting you. We saw the other time CZI, for the first time ever, actually put a letter out to say, they are not in agreement with going back to local currency. They're not in agreement in terms of policy, RBZ policy. So once you start to get these cracks of trust and lack of confidence, there is only one thing for it, and that is a complete overhaul of the system. We need change as early as yesterday, because all these things that we are saying about disbandment of the interchange auction, about dollarization, we've been saying that for years now. But there's no political will to take those things on board and to put them in place. And so we're in a position where now there's the only option. There's somebody said, if you can't change the people, change the people. That is the only thing that we have to do as a country. We need to unanimously agree that this regime is not interested in acting in the best interest of the people. They're not interested in fostering an economy that is successful for everyone. There are obviously some winners, but the winners we have very greedy, selfish winners. They have no interest in really getting Zimbabwe productive in any shape or form, right? There's one of the godfathers of economics. It talks about the benevolence of the butchers. And he says it is to the benevolence of the butchers that we are fed. We know that the people at the top are probably corrupt, that they are dictators, that they have self-interest. But some degree of benevolence means that there should be some trails of development in the country. But these ones have got zero benevolence. And what this has shown the last few weeks, that somebody can just wake up and say, no one is lending to anyone. That's it. And then a few days later say, oh, okay, maybe we'll change it, but we won't even give you proper details. We won't give you any assurance that we're never going to say something like that again. They have no interest in a productive and economically efficient Zimbabwe at all. They are only in it for themselves. And so I have, obviously, as an economic scholar, we can make suggestions, but really, I even sometimes when people say to me, can you write something? I'm like, can I just give you what I wrote last year? Like, it's the same thing. We keep saying the same things over and over again, but there is zero political will to change or to improve, even marginally. Because when you're thinking about things like, guys, we were saying price discovery in the interchange auction, just disbandon it, or at least allow the market to dictate the price. Do not peg it. They won't even do a simple thing like that. So we are in a place where there's zero political will to improve. There's no trust or confidence in the policymakers. And when you're in that situation, then you just have to change.
Wow. Thank you very much, Chenai. Champion Barbara, Trugendepi, Siak.
Chief, before I say my view on where we are going, I just want us to watch this this skit Yanti Pedza Mafuta. This skit Mafuta. Estella, can you play this skit so that people can see how low we have been reduced by this regime, I loved my lungs out, but at the same time I was so so cross, eh?
Is there volume there?
No volume, Stella.
Sorry, I will have to reshare it.
Now it's playing. Now we have volume.
Sorry, I will just reshare it. I think it didn't pick the. Sometimes it doesn't pick the system audio when I share. So I have to restart.
Okay.
Is there volume now?
Yeah. Well, it's very sad. Very, very sad. Barbara.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad, Chief, that people are now doing skits. You know, it's like, you know, Jorwadza. That's all I can say. Kuti, if people cannot afford to buy simple cooking oil, a basic commodity, you know, it's now viewed as something that is just, you know, special, or this is just a basic commodity that every household should have, as every household should afford, should be able to afford without any households. But people can no longer afford to buy just cooking oil. Workers, you know, they can't afford to buy cooking oil. What of the women, the informal traders, the women that sell matumati pamberi gate on in the roads, you know, the poverty that is there, you know, the statistics of of poverty in Zimbabwe. Maybe I don't know whether Chenai had touched on this to say almost 60% of Zimbabweans are living in abject poverty. This is to say they are living on 30 cents per day. 30 cents, not even $1, 30 cents. And the 30 cents not cheap. That's the purpose that is there. So way forward, Chief.
Way forward, yes.
It's very unfortunate that as a veteran trade unionist, during our days, these are issues that would not even take us a time to demonstrate. These are the issues, the bread and butter issues are the workers' issues. We can't have students fighting on their own, and yet the workers are quiet, very quiet. We're not hearing anything from ZCTU.
Is ZCTU captured?
It is captured, Chief. There's no doubt about it. This is not the ZCTU that we knew. It's captured, and I'm not even going to mince my words. I know how ZCTU used to operate. I was there. I became a trade unionist in 1997, 1998. We had a successful stay away. I don't even want to talk about the general strikes that were there during the Tsvangirai era, the Love Moma Tombo era, the George Nkiwani era, the demonstrations. We were known. ZCTU was known through demonstrations. The struggles, the revolutions were fought by workers. But the workers of today, they are just quiet. They are boardroom workers, and they're now playing quiet diplomats to say, hey, we want to engage. We don't want to be confrontational. We want to engage. How do you engage with a dictator? You think the dictator can listen to you? How can you say that you want to engage with the dictator? It's so sad. It's so sad, Chief. It's so sad that the ZCTU leadership that is there is betraying workers. They are betraying workers. But tell you what, one day they will see themselves standing there and the workers on their side. Chichachaya, Mumus.
Can I ask a question, Champion Barbara?
Yes.
Is it not possible for people to do what President Chamisa did with CCC, to simply create a genuine trade union and abandon the captured one? Is that not possible?
You know what? You don't even need to create that. People, they create themselves. Even if President Chamisa only announced, but if you wanted to look at the things, people had already created. The citizens had already created themselves. Especially, if you want to see to what I'm talking about, that is true. Look at the Douglas Monzora case.
Exactly. Yeah.
Look at the Douglas Monzora case. The leadership of MDC Alliance, then led by Nelson Chamisa, did not even say anything. But the people were in the forefront to say, we are not going to budge, that to hell with courts. We never heard Chamisa saying anything about the courts, but the people were saying to hell with the courts. We don't care.
Kochita immobilize governor and never create a new well, they can give it a different name, but a new genuine.
You shall see, Estella. It's in the making. I don't want to preempt. It's in the making. The workers have just had enough. Workers are complaining. I'm still in those groups where there are workers. Workers are complaining. Every day. It's not the ZCTU that I used to know. They're just quiet. And to make matters worse, Emerson Mnangagwa, in his May Day statement on the 1st of May, he simply said, he puts it in black and white to say, ZANU-PF and ZCTU are Siamese twins. And do you know what a Siamese twins are? Do you know how they operate? They share an umbilical cord. Huh? What does that mean?
Wow. Let me allow Ashley to come in if he's still here, because I know that there's no electricity, so that he can wrap up and just give us what he thinks from a student perspective should be the way forward to all these problems that we are discussing here. Ashley, are you still there?
At the moment, he's not here. I don't know if he might try to come back later. I will let you know.
Okay. All right. I saw DJ Prof. Has he dropped or is he still there?
Oh, he has dropped.
Okay. All right. I saw that we can come back again to you, Champion Barbara, to just say your last words.
My last words, Chief, will be to say citizens should just rise up. You know the slogan of CCC, Simuka Zimbabwe Simuka, Pagama Zimbabwe Pagama, a new great Zimbabwe. One vision, one nation. So we just need to rise up and say enough is enough, because these people, no, that's the language that they understand.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay, rise up. That's what Ashley was saying, and that's what the Champion Barbara is saying. Estella, any last words?
Yes, my last words are to change radio. That shall we take it as our personal agenda to spread that information that will spark that will ignite that spark of an uprising.
Mm-hmm. Yes, we should do that, and we are doing that in many ways. That one, I think there is also some very good news that we are now having news. Beginning last week, we started broadcasting news in Tonga, and we are also going to be broadcasting news in Tsonga, that is Shangani language. That language is spoken in the Chiredzi area there. So we are trying to cover as many languages as we can. That's the good news there. So we are calling upon Zimbabweans to support the Citizens radio station, the People's radio station. Your $10 a month or $5 a month or $20 a month will enable us to get as many volunteers as possible. We do not pay the volunteers, but we have to give them data, because most of them are in Zimbabwe. Of course, we need people in Zimbabwe so that we can get fresh news. We can get things as they happen. So we really need your help. We need your support, Zimbabweans. You can post in the comment section there, Estella, the link that people can use to just make their small donation so that Change Radio can continue to function. Right now, we are now broadcasting news in 4 languages: in Shona, Ndebele, English, and we added Tonga language a few days ago. And next week, we'll also start broadcasting in Shangani or Tsonga. They don't want it to be called Shangani. They want it to be called Tsonga. So people in Chiredzi, get ready for Change Radio there, where we are coming. And then we'll go to all the other so-called minor languages. Thank you so much those that are already supporting. And thank you so much those that are going to jump on the link and donate something. Zimbabweans across the world, we want to thank you for being with us today, for your comments, for your contributions, and for your support. Just by being here, you are important. You are part of us. You make these programs successful. Thank you so much. God bless you. God bless Zimbabwe. And God bless the legitimate president of Zimbabwe, Advocate Nelson Chamisa. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Viewers and listeners, I would just like to inform you that to donate to Change Radio, you can click on the link in comments, but when you click, it will require you to log in first. So please don't let that phase you. Just do log in, and then it will direct you to the page where you can actually pledge your subscription.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Please jump onto that. But when you have done that, please also share the link with your friends and relatives so that we can keep the Citizen radio station going. Once again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.
Yeah, Citizen Coalition for Change, New Great Zimbabwe, one people, one nation, one vision. Simuka Zimbabwe, simuka, chamisa chite chete, rapini hake mkomana. Voterai mkomana, abinde mkomana. Voterai mkomana, abinde mkomana. Voterai kutonga nyika kulingia mukomana ndia nekia yelo yashika manyaya tatu. Yeah, Citizen Coalition for Change,